We are here in the lecture 18 of the Archaeological Sciences Center webinar series of IIT Gandhinagar, and today we have Dr. Y.S. Rawat, who is former director, Gujarat State Archaeology and Museums, and who is a well-known Harappan archaeologist, and later in his career he also switched over to the early historic period. He is an authority on Gujarat Harappan archaeology, and also on several aspects of archaeology of different periods from Gujarat, including the early historic time period and also the medieval time period. So he initially joined Archaeological Survey of India in the 1980s, and later on he became a director Gujarat State Archaeology around 2001, and he retired from there, and at present he is a consultant in the Gujarat State Archaeology.
And thank you IIT Gandhinagar and your Archaeological Science Center, Dr. Prabhakar, Dr. Deneno and Sarda, that you just bear with me this delay. For that I am sorry. And now I am starting presentation without further delay. Thank you. This is actually I am talking about Vadnagar city, early historic city in Anarta. Actually, Anarta was a geographical area in ancient India. And before our excavation or before the identification of the Anandapur or Anandapur, there was a confusion earlier. Literary sources records that at one point of time, particularly Mahabharata, that the whole of the Gujarat from north to Saurashtra came under Anarta, and they were not separate entirety. But after the Rudradaman inscription which is available in Junagadh, datable to 150 CE, it made clear that Anarta and Surat, Saurashtra, are two different entities in Gujarat. And this Anarta is a Pradesh, a Pradesh or a province in the Gujarat. And there are so many literary evidences for that. In Mahabharata, we have got the Banpur, Adipur, Shalya, Bhishma. There are a lot of references about the Anarta and Anandapur. And even the Krishna was sometime living in the Anandapur. Similarly, there are Matsya Puran and Bhagavad Puran. They also indicate the Anarta is in the of the Arbut Parvat. And similarly, in Mahabharata, the geography of Anarta is given between the Revtakgiri and Arbut Parvat. So both that is Vadnagar and the North Gujarat actually fit in that area. Then other references are in the Maitraka scripts, where a lot of the land grant have been given to the Brahmins of Anandapur and Anartapur. And further, there is a inscription at Gwalior of the Mihir Bhoj, that is the 9th, 10th century, wherein Mir Bhoj actually proclaimed that his great grandfather Nag Bhatt defeated the hill fort of Anarta. So these are the literary and inscription references. And then we come to the geography of the Vadnagar or the Anarta. Actually, I am giving the Vadnagar, which falls in the Anarta, which was at one point of time the capital of Anarta Desh. But there is still now again confusion actually whether the Vadnagar was the Anarta or Anartapur was a different town, because what I have seen, the Maitraka inscription mentioned both till 647. Their grant, copper plate, record Anandapur as well as Anandapur. But there is a actually distinction between two, some difference actually. In case of Anandapur, the Dhoni of the Anandapur is always outside the town. He is not living in that town anymore. Whereas in case of the Anandapur Dhoni, either they are living in the Anandapur or they have migrated from the Anandpur. It means Anandpur was still a living city. People were living there, whereas the Anandpur was already deserted by the people, or the people migrated from the Anandpur. This Anand I have identified with the Taranga. Taranga is just 20-25 kilometers north of Vadnagar, and now open to discussion about whether the Taranga may be Anandpur, and Vadnagar could have written Anandpur name till the migration from the Taranga was completed. Vadnagar seems to be actually established by the people who migrated from the Taranga hills or the Anandpur town. And then after 647, there is no more mention of the Anandpur, any of the inscription, except the inscription of Gwalior, which mentioned that the Giridurg of Anarta. It means the Taranga itself was still actually as a stronghold or a military camp of the Anarta country, the country named as Anarta. This is the location of Vadnagar. We have got the Taranga hill here, and then you see this geomorphology. There is a river to the west of Vadnagar, and another river is there, this east of Vadnagar, that is Sabarmati. And then in between you can see a large wide valley. This wide valley, this is a depression sort of thing, and I feel this was a paleo channel left by the Sabarmati, which actually gradually migrated towards west. And this small mound visible here, the white color, this is on one of the shore, the western shore of this valley. And this is actually the point here, why this city survived so long, even still continuing. And to me, actually, this large valley or the large actually depression or the paleo channel of the Sabarmati provided sufficient moisture or retained the humidity for longer time, and that's why this area turned into a fertile ground for agriculturists and cattle breeders. And nearby Taranga hill was already there to provide the minerals and other raw material for the people of this city. And this may be region actually because of this low-lying area, and both sides there are the river, and because of that it survived so long. Still it is continuing. Then you can see this is the town where the general slope of the land formation is actually sloping from the north east to southwest. And here also it is visible the Sarmistar Lake, which is actually roughly one fourth of the whole town, that lies on the northeast of the town. Means the town is lying on the mouth of the flow, but it is actually for the safety of the town, it is a suicidal actually. Sometime if there is a flood, this will destroy the whole town. So that's why actually there is a tradition. This reservoir came into existence in 13th century AD, after there was significant deposition on its bank. And it appears to me that this was a meandering Kapila river. The Kapila river actually is originating in Taranga hill, and then it comes to its southwest direction. It flow in southwest direction, and then it was meandering here in this point, and then further going to the west near the Hatkeshwar temple, which is at near south northwest corner of the town. And this gate near Hatkeshwar is known as the Nadiol. Nadiol means it was actually near the river. That way, it fit into the actually that the ancient planning. They established a town on the bank of this meandering river. And further, there is a gradual development of the town. Actually, the whole area was not occupied at once. There is a gradual expansion. If you go down, because we have got the maximum deposit in this area, this actually eastern central area, and then the further west you will be missing some of the early phases, and this central portion is the contains deposit that is around 25 meter. Here also you can see just I will you can see this is the actually DEM of the Vadnagar prepared by the Vaishak, this space application in Gandhinagar, and this shows the different contour of the town. You can see the different color and then contour also. The pink one is the highest point in the Vadnagar, that is the Darbargarh, about 25 meter high from the surrounding ground level. And from this point, the threshold of the gate, the entry point, the threshold of the gate is around 12 meter down. And it is the roads are actually ascending to this point. It means the town was not actually in the uniform way, it was not developing. Actually, they were leaving certain ground unoccupied just to maintain the slope of the roads. Still today, you will find the more structure in the central, the core zone of the town, and the less on the periphery. So this actually this TEM clearly indicate how it is growing at the different level. We have found the monastery in this area here. That is the quite down from this point. This point from here, again 12 meter below the top of the mount, the top of the city today. That way, you will get a different contour or the different built up area around on those contours. Then, I already told the Skand Purana has a reference about Chamatkarpur, Anartpur, Anandapur, Nagar, Vadnagar, and Skandpur, and so many other name for the Vadnagar, which has been, these all names have been actually attributed to Vadnagar by the historian. But now the new research actually, what we are finding at the Vadnagar, also at that actually indicate that there were the two towns very adjacent to each other, in the neighborhood of each other, and the Anartpur could have been the Taranga site, because that is a huge fortification in Taranga, the present Ajitnath temple. And then there is actually outside the town, there is a Buddhist settlement also. That indicate actually that was a separate town. And this Anandapur actually was established by the people who migrated from the hills to the plains during the early historical time. And then there are a lot of actually written about the Nagarkhand and in Skand Purana and Hatkeshwar Kshetra. It is full of these things, but some truth is lying here and there that you have to actually find out what is the correct and what is not. Then there is a Jain tradition also for the town, that Kalpa Sutra first time was recited in the Vadnagar town. Actually, Dhruv Bhatt actually lost his son, and he was very sad. That's why the Jain Acharya of that time, actually, he made the recital of the Kalpa Sutra, which was actually the first public recital of the Kalpa Sutra. Before that, it was not the public presence. So this is one Jain tradition, eldest Jain tradition about the Vadnagar. Then we have got the famous Chinese traveler and the monk Xuanzhang, who visited Anandapur in the 641, and he records that this country is about 2000 li in circuit, the capital about 20, the population is dense, the establishment there is a, just I will take it somewhere. The establishment rich, there is no ruler, but it is an appanage of Malwa. The produce, climate, literature, law are the same as the of Malwa. There are some 10 Sangaram with less than 100 priests. They study the little vehicle of Sammati school. There are several tons of Deva temple and secretaries of different kinds frequent them. This is a statement made by the Xuanzhang that there were 10 Sangaram, but there were also several Deva temples which were actually frequented by the different secretaries. And then there is actually the circumference 2000 li and 20 li, the circumference circuit of capital city, which was the Anandapulo. Anandapulo can be actually identified with the Anandapur also or Anandapur also. It is very difficult to make any difference between that. But I tried to actually get the actual area involved in this circumference, that is 2000 li, that the diameter actually comes about 600 something, and the radius 310 to 20 kilometer. And then if you make a circle or roughly a circle, so it goes up to the Arbud Parvat from Abu to Batrak River in south, and from the little run of Kutch to Dungarput in the east. That whole area is actually comprised of the Anarta. And the capital is 20, means that is around 5.5 kilometers in circumference. Vadnagar, actually the area, the ruins of Vadnagar which are available in the outside the fortification also, if they are also taken in consideration, covers that much area. Then we have got the metric copper plates that I told you, they are giving grant to the Brahmins of the Anartapur as well as the Anandapur. And because they were giving grant, actually because Anandapur was a center of education, because as Xuanzhang said, there are so many priests and they are studying the little vehicle, and there are several Dev temples. All these were not like only a place of worship, but they were actually center of the education. That's why Anandapur, Vadnagar had got a special spacious in the geography of that time in the Anandapur and outside the Anandapur, and they were the later inscription also indicate the Brahmins of Vadnagar. They were in great demand for the education, for teaching, for administration, for writing the epitaphs, because even the Vadnagar Prasasti of Kumarpal, which was written in the 12th century AD, that was by the one of the writer from the Vadnagar itself. And it was actually the native for the so many poets and court poets, particularly in the Solanki period. And then this archaeologically, the site was first actually associated with RPW, which is a pottery of 1st, 2nd century AD. In Western India, it dates go further down to 50 BC. But S.R. Rao was the first archaeologist actually who found it in the northwest area of the town. And immediately after, in 1950, the Department of Archaeology, MS Ministry, Baroda, excavated some area outside of the town in the east. That was the beyond the fortification. And they found a sequence from dating back to 4th century BCE to 1000 CE. And they have identified some 3 cultural periods here. But because the town was actually outside the area of exchange outside of the town, it never remained actually fully occupied, regularly occupied. Then we thought actually when we started excavation in 2006, we should actually prefer the area within the fortification. And meanwhile, in 1992, a Bodhisattva image actually was found in the Vadnagar, just south of Darwaja, where we found a Buddhist monastery. And this established actually and proved the records of the Xuanzhang correct that this town was very much associated with religion. Then this is then we took actually the excavation in 2006, and then our CM, our Prime Minister, he was very much actually interested to excavate Vadnagar to know the Buddhist connection. And then finally we got the permission from ASI and excavated the area. And these were the 3 areas we excavated, which were for the large scale excavation. One was the gas school area. Another is this Khari Kui or Primary Shala 3 here, and then there was a Durga Mata temple, all on the southern margin of the town. And then these are this was our first actually earlier one trench we put in the across the southern fortification near the Pithori gate. This is a Pithori gate here. To the west of Pithori gate, we put a trench across the town. This wall, which was actually already exposed on the top with the merlons, battlement, parapet. These are the all late structure, but we wanted to know the beginning of the fort wall. And this was the open area, and we just took a chance and got this area excavated. Here we found the brick wall resting over the rampart. This was the first actually indication. Actually, there was in the more ancient time, there was a rampart all around the settlement. And this is the evidence we found. And there is a moat beyond the rampart, outside the rampart, there is a deep moat that we could not actually see it fully. It was going further down. This actually provided clue that there is a phase when the phase, and then that is followed by the kiln burnt brick. And in that brick wall, there are successive phases till the Gaikwad period. And this is also visible here. You can see the different phases here, and there are some repair also and data restoration here. This way, a clue for the excavation inside of the fortification, what we can actually get inside. So these were the indicator here. Then we went further up in the center of the town, and there we found actually this this area, open area, actually, this is all private land. People, there are the ownership of this land by to in the private hands. We requested them and they actually allowed us to excavate this area. Then otherwise inside the Vadnagar it's very difficult to get any open area. Here we excavated this deposit up to 22.50 meter. Particularly this trench was 18.50 meter. And you can see here from top here to the down, this is unexcavated because there we actually encountered that the water table, we could not go further down. And in this trench, we have got the different phases. And you can see we have got some C14 dates from this level. This is just above the unexcavated area. You can see this is the 75 BCE to 127 CE. And this is actually our around 1st century BCE level, this one. And here we have found those large bricks of the Mauryan periods. That is 50 and some 28, 42 and 8 centimeters. These are the very, and then this is actually the, this also gave us actually one understanding that this town, which on 4th, 3rd century BCE, was never actually deserted. It continued news till date. And this seems to be the outstanding universal value of this site, because the site is there since last 2500 years without any abandonment or without any desertion. People are living in the same house. You can see this is a wall which is about 10 meter high wall. But this wall actually comprised of so many phases. It is not a single wall. It indicates actually the builders who was actually putting his wall over it. He knew that underneath there is a wall of his forefather. If there is a deviation, the house will collapse because this is all loose material, beyond wall, outside also, inside also. That's why they maintain the plumb line throughout. And this happened actually from 1st century to Solanki period. They continually constructed houses. There are successive phases, but the plan of the house never shifted. That outline of the house never shifted. Maybe some partition, a small partition they have done, but the main the exterior, the outer wall or the major wall of the house were never changed. Their orientation remains same throughout these. That indicate actually the continuity without any desertion. People are continuing in the same house and they are knowing actually where the earlier house lies, where the foundation of the earlier house is there, and continuing over that. So this is one thing. This site actually, this is the more important thing. Actually, otherwise there are so many sites in India which are so much ancient. Even the Banaras also, even in Gujarat, Bharuch is there. So this Junagadh is there, and there are other sites also. But such continuity is not found anywhere. Even in Banaras, it is along the Ganga river. The town is actually shifting in the different centuries. If there is a calamity, a flood, in the next century, the town will be on the other bank, the others just shifted to south or to north, but not continuing actually growing there at the same spot within the same fortification wall. That is actually the uniqueness of this settlement. And then we have identified actually main 5 phases of the town. It is based on the event, on the ruling dynasty, and that one initial settlement without any fortification, because we don't know the character of the first town of Vadnagar, whether it was fortified or not, because this is fall over. This followed. This is followed by the rampart, the the town with the rampart wall. So we put it in actually Maurya and pre-Maurya period, and then there is the rampart phase, which goes with 2nd century BCE to 1st century BCE. That is the end of the 1st century BCE, and this may be contemporary to Indo-Greek and Satavahan ruler in the West India. But how much influence these dynasties or these ruler had on Vadnagar, that we don't know, because Vadnagar, it seems, was a souvenir uh, city state. It was not actually influenced by the change in the ruling class or the change of the dynasty, because this is not a capital city. In capital city, mostly you will find the change in architecture, in the monumental building. You will see the lot of the demolition and then again rebuilding of it. But it is not there. It is actually growing on its actually pace. That is actually, we should make the difference between the a town, a town, governed by the people of the town itself. Maybe the Brahmins, actually, the elite of the society, they were managing this town at it is, I believe, because when he say that there is no king at present, and it is the appanage of the Malwa. So that way, actually, Vadnagar, the people of Vadnagar were paying actually revenue to the powerful ruler of that time, their time. If it is a ruler of Malwa, powerful, he has actually defeated the Malwa, the Gujarat state, Gujarat ruler, then they will pay tribute to the Malwa. And similarly, if the Gujarat ruler is defeating the Malwa, then they are actually going with the Gujarat or the Saurashtra. That was the scenario. And later on, the Eider state of the Gujarat, which is on the border of the, just on the margin of the Aravalli hill, like Taranga, they were actually, even in the 15th century, 14th century, they were also doing the same thing. And because of this time of this type of thing, the Chauhan of the Eider, actually they were in the time of the weakening actually power in the Ahmedabad. They were raiding the whole this area between Ahmedabad and this Eider, and they were collecting revenue from the locals. And when Ahmedabad was actually chasing them, they were going interior into the Aravallis. And as a result, actually, Ahmed Shah, after establishing this Ahmedabad as the capital, he raised a town in Himmatnagar. That was Ahmednagar, known as Ahmednagar during that time, just to keep control on the Chauhan ruler. So that was actually how a location is actually beneficiary or to the such people. Vadnagar is also in the early stages has similar kind of location, and that's why it is actually sometime with Malwa and sometime with the Saurashtra. These are the actually then 5 phases we have found, and then we have got the 1st century that brick town fortification from 1st century onward, and which continued till actually late the Maratha period also. And these actually they include Chhatrapa, Maitraka, and Solanki. We have included one phase because there is a continuity. This wall is the actually composite wall of all these phases. That the Chhatra, Maitrak, and Solanki. Only the stratigraphy will differentiate from where the change is there. Otherwise, the house is continuing. Even a Chhatrava house may continue in the Maitraka time. Even a Maitraka house continues in the Solanki period. It will not change. All of the change in the administration, there will no change in the house, particularly in the local settlement. maybe it may happen in the capital, but not in the local settlement. And then there is a phase of Gujarat Sultanate. We are saying actually we get the coins of Sultanate, some changes in pottery, but there is no direct rule of the Sultanate because the locals are paying revenue, but there is not much interference by the other people. And it is not directly governed by the Khan or other thing. And then Mughal, Maratha, and this remain same. The Subedar of the Maratha from Kadi, earlier time in Kadi, then later time in Mehsana, they actually were collecting revenue from the all the villages and town of the North Gujarat. The Vadnagar was also paying, but Vadnagar, as I told you, was the very important for all the dynasty, all the ruler, because it was a great education center. The people were very educated, and they were actually excelling in all the aspect of society. That's why they were in great demand, and or the ruler, most of the ruler actually were visiting Barnagar whenever they got time. And there are several this inscription about these kind of events. Then this is the similar thing actually here in the area also. Inside the town, we found this rampart. Actually, this is the underlying this brick wall of the later period. There are several phases. You can see these phases. And there are phases of addition, alteration, repair, and also. And this is the airless structure, we can say. Beyond that, there is a water down. These are the bricks actually of the Mauryan measurement. And interestingly, it is also the architecture of that period because it is partially built of the brick and partially of the wood. You can see the post holes on the top of it. And even this post holes were standing there for many ages. This one. So that indicate actually this is our second phase, that phase you can between the first and second, that is continuity also there. We say this is the 2nd century BC structure, this one. And similarly, these are the walls in the another wall in the Durga Mata area, that you can see the same things, that there are so many phases of the wall, the different phases of different periods, repair, addition, sometimes this another wall. That way, this is a successive phases, and you are seeing a composite picture here of the so many successive houses of the 1,000+ years. And then there are indication actually that the town, the planner, they were actually sometimes shifting allowing encroachment in the street also, because sometimes streets are actually the wide street of early phase are narrowed down because population is growing, and then some of the people are actually adjusted by reducing the width of the road. It was actually uniformly done in the whole of the town so that to get more space, and that is a very interesting aspect of the town planning of this historic city. And this is all this another, this is the same thing. This is the rampart, and then we have got the successive phases of the wall, fortification wall here and here also. This is the top of this wall. This is the top of the year. And then you can see this is all the Solanki, and even then some plaster is there, and later on the Maratha period. And there are actually different phases. Sometimes the walls, some structures are actually on the top of just below the wall. So that one have to understand actually these things, what is happening, because small scale excavation is difficult to make out actually. This was the all everywhere. Then these are some findings from the early levels, and particularly this goes to actually 3rd century BC. This seal particularly, and this is followed by this ivory seal. It is actually carved in its letters there, and it is a, you can see here, it has got a railing here. This is all wooden structure with a Vedika or a railing, with then pillars, again then a roof here, and then again railing, and then a up roof, wagon board roof. And then this side, it is a dhwaj, a flag with these actually ribbon sort of thing. And Dr. B.S. Agarwal has actually defined this as a Indra Dhwaj, because there is a Dhwaj defined as Indra Dhwaj, which has got a truncated uh, top. These are truncated here, this one. He said this is the associated with the later Vedic period, I don't know, but there is some tradition of that kind of flag. It is visible here. And the other side, we have got a Vedika again here. You can see the railing, and then there is a tree here also. And this tree is being worshipped by this turbaned human being. He is actually worshipping a tree. And below there is a legend, Mahayatkash. And who is the Mahayati, that we don't know. But it belongs to a certain sect whose head known as the Mahayati. And then we have got this kind of actually coins, which are actually generally following the Panchmar coin. This may be the cast coin or something, but there are some actually punching here. So many letters are there. And this is again the early coins from the Vadnagar. This is our 2nd century BC, 3rd, 2nd century BC material. And this is the pottery of that period also, some black and red ware. And then these are some micaceous, very fine mica is spread in the exterior of this pottery. And these are the early ceramics of the site. And then later on, actually during the Chhatrapa period, Gupta period, and then we have got later on the glazed ware, the sun stamped pottery also. So this is the continuity actually from 1st century AD to 8th century. You can get such kind of material that we are actually now classifying material. But general look is this. Actually cultural change is very gradual. Dynastic or dynasty change is fast. In comparison to that, material change gradually and very difficult to make out from where actually this change. But we just make out of because of the points and the thing that dynasty, the town is now being taken by the another dynasty. But that is not true. It continues, and slowly things actually get is extinct and new things actually emerge. And this is the actually just to show that how some tradition we could have missed. So many material used by the ancient people. This is one of the leather pot. It has got so many layers inside. You can see here, there are 3-4 layers of leathers. And this actually match with that chocolate slip jar that is found in the Harappan context with a pointed base. And this was actually, the locals say this was actually for the storage of the ghee or the other precious material, and that was exported or transported in such containers. And this actually we found somebody actually put in the road, and it has actually was going to be lost. Then we collected and have brought it to our side. Very good evidence of the leather vessel. I have saw it time in my life. So that is the how actually we could have missed so many things, and we don't know much about the lifestyle or the material culture of the fully, because such perishable things are not available now. Then these are other evidence of the 1st century to 4th century. We have got the Chhatrapa coins of different ruler. These are mostly the later Chhatrapa. And interestingly, this is site we have got one Kushan coin. This one, this coin is the Kushan, and that is the 2nd century AD, 1st, 2nd century AD. And this is the impression of another coin. So this is very good finding from the Vadnagar. That Kushan coins in Gujarat are very rare. That way it is the interesting find. The Chhatrapas are very common. The silver coins of Chhatrapa. And then again, after Chhatrapa, or in between this Maitrak and Chhatrap, there is actually uh, a, a very powerful king, or it is actually a single king or a dynasty or a person from the Chhatrapa dynasty who actually converted to the mainstream religion, to the Sanatan, because at the we have the evidences like the Heliodorus pillar at Vadnagar, that the Heliodor actually became the Param Bhagavat. Similarly, this seems to be the either it is the Avir Ishwardat. There was a king Ishwardat, they say, or this is actually a Chhatrapa, uh, the elite, who actually after the decline of Chhatrapa, he actually merging with and then becoming a great Bhagavata. Because these coins are a Garuda. In all these coins, you can see this figure of Garuda, the eagle, in the anthropomorphic form. This one. There are actually majority 60% of coin of Vadnagar are of these Garuda. So it means he was a very uh, a powerful king around 4th and 5th century AD. Even we have got this Garuda actually image in the gold, this one. And then it is followed by again this Maitraka coin with this trident, and then sun, moon, this Nandi. And these are very common actually. They continued in with the Maitraka also, and during the Chhatrapa period also, these sort of thing. But it does not mean actually the Vadnagar was under the sway of Chhatrapa. They are actually, we are getting some findings from Vadnagar. This similarly other kings coins also, other ruling coins also. So then this is another actually in tablets with this in grooves. This is a very enigmatic finding actually. It is the North India or in the Western India or in early historical period or the 1st, 2nd century AD time. This is omnipresent everywhere. And what was its use? That is actually, there are so many theory about it. Some people say this is scale, some people say it was for the counting, some people say these are all actually with that. But even it is very difficult to say if it is scientific. It is not proved by scientific analysis. And then we come to uh, the actually the terracotta images. They belongs to the different 4th, 5th century. This is the 6th century actually image of the Samlaji school. Because Samlaji was a prominent art school in the 6th, 7th century AD. And this kind of images you will find throughout the Gujarat actually. This is in sandstone, but otherwise other images are the cyst, the black cyst. And this seems to be Ambika because it's a sword, then there is a bag here, and then 2 attendant, and then 2 lion there. Maybe the goddess Ambika or Parvati, but definitely it belongs to be that Shamlaji school of art. which was actually identified by the recorded by the Taranath, a Tibetan historian in 18th century, that this is the school of Western art. That was the thing. And these are other terracotta ascetics and other things from the Vadnagar. Then these are all other toys and other things of the we have recovered. And further we have got a lot of material and now we are actually working on it. And then the other material from uh, the cultural material, different kind of beads, some pulley also to bead, and they were all for the different uses, not necessarily for the human, maybe for the bullock or the cow or ox. So this kind of the beads still actually we are putting on the neck of these animals. And then this was the uh, there are actually Vadnagar is actually I think one the industrial area of the town, and these are the finding actually from the air level, because being Aravali nearby, that seems to be a source of the iron ore, and later on it become for the marble and copper also. But we have got a lot of these kind of these nodules, and then these industrial pottery, this thing, the bitumen clay and all these things, they are the for smelting sort of thing, and then the finished good. This seems to be one of the major industry of the town, a tradable material from the town. Another is the beads. Beads of different kinds are available from Vadnagar. This is the actually from the early level. This is a terracotta with the rammed head, ram head, and this is datable available other site in Western India also, and this is datable to 2nd century BCE. Rest of things are later actually, the Kshatrapa Maitrika period, and some of them has the copper wire also. Particularly this carnelian bead, and there are actually lapis lazuli, carnelian, and jasper, and agate, and so many things. This seems to be another actually industry of this town, but it is not known whether they were making or this was actually doing this work in Vadnagar itself, or it was actually imported from the nearby area like Bharuch, or maybe uh, the southern Gujarat, because we have not found any uh, this workshop till date. That is one issue actually, where from these were actually finished items coming to the site. And then this is again prominent cell industry from the early level to it continued, and there are so many things available from the of the cell. Uh, and finally, we have got the ivory. Ivory actually was a very important actually uh, import item of India since antiquities. And Gujarat actually till this Mughal period, there were actually a lot of sanctuary or the forest area where the elephant was roaming freely and a good number. There is actually a record of the Jahangir time that after actually uh, appointing this Shahjahan as a governor of Gujarat, Subedar of the Gujarat, he went to Dahod for the hunting to kill these elephant. And in the meantime, actually, there was a spread of plague. And then he returned again back to Ahmedabad after 1 month. So that shows actually there was no elephant in Gujarat till Mughal period. So it could have been a major item of import from this year. And Vadnagar is known actually traditionally as a land port. It was actually at the crossroad of two major roads, one from the coastal region to Mathura or North India, and another from the central India to Sindh, and ultimately to Swat Valley, the Gandhar region. Because most of the Buddhist trade in this Devni Mori, even in Vadnagar, they show some actually Gandharian influence. So that way, it appears as a very good trading center during the early centuries, because lot of movement of caravans, and they were actually moving from this this town, and even Buddhist monk from actually north, this central India to Sindh, because there is a route from Vadnagar, Kutch, and then Sindh. And that way, this town was actually prospering because of these movement also, because of the on the trade route, and it became a very prosperous town, remain a prosperous town throughout its existence until date. Actually, even it is a today a prominent village and taluka headquarters in Bard. This. Then we have got a interesting scene, a seal. This is a ring, actually ring seal. You can see these are the negative, and this is the page positive of this ring. This is a real actually seal, a ring seal. You can say mudrika. And this read actually, this is Bali Sarasya. Bali is actually tax. In ancient time, it is a Bali. That we were offering the offering is Bali. We are offering some animal to the gods in temples. That was tradition, and we say that I will give that that way. This was the collector seal actually from Vadnagar, that belongs to the 5th century AD. Now we come to the Buddhist association of Vadnagar. That is the, you can see this is the Buddha image. It was found in 1992 in a field just south of the Ghaskol Darwaja. And this experiment was done by the Professor Aryan Mehta and others. And actually, this is the inscription here. He read actually it as a Sammatiya Bhikkhino Yo Devo Bodhisattvatayo Chaitye Acharena Mahashaya Pariya. This is the Acharya Mahasaya brought the Bodhisattva, the god of for the Chaitya. This actually continued till 2016, 15, I think. And I always, whenever I saw this image in the museum, I found these two letters are similar. How it is that so more? Then there is another actually one addition here. There actually, because of that, I sent it to the Peter Skilling, a Buddhist scholar based in Thailand. And he actually agreed, yes, you are right. Same thing, it cannot be Sammatiya. And then I sent that, and then Professor Oscar Hinver and Peter Skilling, they actually deciphered this as Sasthatiya Bhikkhuniya Dan Bodhisattva Sagaya Chaityakutte Acharena Ma Sangikena Pariyaha. This is actually, they they found that this belongs to a bhikkhuni of this Sastatiya Sangh, and she actually got it for this Chaitya of Maha Sayak, gift of the Bodhisattva by the nun from Samasthamata for her own Chaityakuti for the acquisition of the Mahasamvika teacher. So this was actually, this also solved our problem actually of the monastery, why the monastery within the town. And that we will see now the monastery. This is the monastery we found in the southern side, central of the Vadnagar, near a gate known as Ghaspul Darwaja. And this is actually a square structure. From here, this you can see a square structure here, this one. And there is an entry from the north. This is a entrance porch, this one. And then this is a flight of step from the this west side, another from the east side. And this is entry, and there were 9 cells, 2 each in the 3 sides, 3 at the southern side, where there was a shrine here, I think. And then in between courtyard with the bathing platform here, and from here is issuing a covered drain which go outside the to the road. And during the era, there were these circular stupa. This is one. Another is underneath this square one, and it remained there for so many centuries. And after that, actually, this is enlarged in the east as well as south. This is the enlargement of the same this monastery. And then they made it actually very symmetrical with the 2 stupa on the either side. By that time, these were actually defunct or covered by the debris, later debris. But both sides, we have got these 2 stupa. One is badly disturbed, but another is preserved mostly. You can say this is actually the diminishing square. 1, 2, 3. These 3 square, and then there is a solid circular actually that under dome. And this was the first phase, this one. And then later phase, actually, they encased this dome with this molded plinth. And then it continued further. And we dated it around 1st century AD because with this monastery, the appearance of RPW is seen. Before that, we don't have any RPW. Only the first layer of the contemporary layer of this monastery itself yielded RPW at Vadnagar. That's why actually we think this was its beginning was around 1st century CE, and it continued till actually 8th century because these molded plinth of the came into existence with the temple development of temple architecture. Before that, we don't have these moldings. So these are actually molding of the plinth sort of thing that we can see here. This is the same monastery. You can see this washing area, then this covered drain, and these are the cella here. And this was actually very interesting thing. This was the wood to fit the wooden floor inside this cell. They had to take the groove. This groove was all throughout the length of the wall. This has got 2 layers. This is the lower one and this is upper one. It means there are the lintels were put here actually. The wooden beam were put here. And then the wooden plank were fitted on the top of it with the help of the another thing. It could be used for as a earthquake prevention method, but there are no vertical groove available where the wooden could have been fixed, not available there. And this is actually the detail of this monastery, this cell. This is the north area. These are the stupa here, there. These are the structure of early, and this is a later phase. And these are the 9 cells all around. And this is roughly actually the available ruins. Lot of ruins have been actually taken away by locals, and we have got several ghost walls of these structures that they have been robbed by the locals. And this was I was saying that the stupa, it has got the later phase. This one you can see the molding like a temple plinth. and then it was actually raised over this plinth. Actually, there are two phases of the stupa. One is with simple diminishing square things, and then this dome. Another with this plinth sort of platform, and then the domes. So this was actually the 7th, 8th century end of the stupa. And these are the other thing available from this monastery that proved actually this is a Buddhist monastery. We have got the replica, terracotta replica of a stupa. Interestingly, it is actually so many faceted, this one, this kind of thing. This I have not found anywhere. I don't know if anybody has noticed somewhere. Kindly just inform me. But till date, I have not seen such kind of uh, facets. And then this is a Buddhist tale of a monkey offering the honey to the Buddha. There is a story that how Buddha got angry with his actually people, and then the Sangha went to forest, and the forest animal tried to actually offer him something as per their actually uh, thing, and then this actually brought a to offer, and then Buddha refused and asked him, the monkey, to put it where it was. And this is another image actually. This is actually flagged out. This is sandstone. Seems to be one layer has gone, but there is a this portion. You can see this carving of the this banya, this people tree. This one, Bodhi tree. It's just on this Pratibha, this mandal. You can see this is. These are all thing, but very important actually to associate the structure with the monastery. And then these are other actually items. These are the large bowl, mostly those begging bowls of the monks. And they give like this Dhamma, Divakarasya, they are name of the monk, I think, Buddhalasya, Sakrasya, and this is burnished black clayware. This looks like an imitation of the but it belongs to actually 2nd, 3rd century AD, and even more later also. Actually, then 4th, 5th century, we have a lot of the votive seals from the site, mostly actually giving the name of the devotee. And this is also a tradition, how it is functional, how it was being offered at the site. And then there are so many these things sealing there from there. This is again the seal impression from the Buddhist monastery again. You can see they were actually offering these tablets to the maybe to the Chaitya or the Stupa. And then these are some pendants, a very interesting thing, and maybe some religious or cult object, because these are they have there is a hole here, this here actually, and that you can actually hang in the neck, and they belongs to actually maybe different following different schools or different teachers. You can just imagine the people were roaming in the lanes of Vadnagar with such a amulet. And then this is another important finding, and which give this is an impression of a coin, type 3 AE coin of Roman Emperor Valentine in Constantinople on the clay ceiling. This is a clay ceiling, and this is one side we have got this impression of the coin. Another side we have got the Brahmi legend. That way, actually, this is dated, actually, the original date is 364 to 367 CE. It might have reached Vadnagar around 4th, 5th century CE. And then we have got this kind of impression in Vadnagar. So these things actually, along with these actually, these antiquity, this glazed ware, glazed slip jar. Then we have got this Torah. Then we have got some these of this kind of images and the conjoined legs and this Gandharam head and these were actually, hello, these
Yeah,
were the actually which are available in Vadnagar. Hello.
yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you. Please carry on.
Okay. एक मिनट. Hello. So these are the thing actually which gives actually the cosmopolitan nature of Vadnagar, because we have got that Roman coin, then we have got this material from the different area, we have got influence of Gandha. So that actually indicate Vadnagar, particularly this monastery was visited by so many people from the different region. And because this was a Bhikkhuni Sangh, a small the Bhikkhuni, that because it is inside of the fortification, so that way it seems to be very significant actually religious structure in Vadnagar during the 1st to 8th century AD. Then we have got the other things, the temples of the Pratihar style, which are actually demolished and destroyed. Actually, these we found the outside of town in the south Pitori Gate area, and beautiful temple of the Pratihar Vishnu temple. Nobody was aware of such thing, but somebody said actually there was a Vishnu temple in Vadnagar in the 8th, 9th century AD. But we have got some few of the members of the temple which are actually now in the museum. And then another visible thing in the Vadnagar are these are the actually surviving today, even which we can see the ancient most thing in Vadnagar. We have got the 10th, 11th century. These are the Saptamatrika in the one Amthirmata complex. It is a temple complex. There are a temple of Vishnu, Surya, and Parvati, and the another wall. This is wall with the Saptamatrika. This is the earliest actually monument of Vadnagar, you can say, without excavation. These were visible from the 10th century onward. The structures, monuments are visible on the street of Vadnagar or around Vadnagar. And this Satmarika panel and this Torana. These are the two prominent monument of that period. This is the thank you. This is the story of the Vadnagar so far. Thank you, Virat.
Thank you so much, sir. Such a vast topic. I believe now, I mean, only after listening to your talk, there is much to know more about Vadnagar. I have never seen these kind of material remains from the site, and I really thank you for this wonderful talk. And now I request Sharada to take over and moderate the Q&A session.
Thank you, sir. So, Dr. Rawat, I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. So I request all the participants to type their questions and comments in the Q&A box and not the chat box. And I right away see one question. I can begin with that. It is by Mr. T.S. Subramaniam, who asks, what is the date of the ancient Buddhist stupa discovered a few years ago on top of the Taranga hill?
Taranga, actually, that hill seems to be quite late. Actually, Taranga, I think Buddhist in Taranga lived till 11th century. That is my opinion. But there are actually other story. Actually, Buddhists were there in the court of the Solanki, but these are only the tale sort of. No, actually concrete evidence for that. But there is one evidence in Rani Ki Vav in the Dasaavatar gallery. There is the Buddha is incorporated in Dasaavatar. That is beautiful example of Buddha in the Rani Ki Vav. That is, and the Vav is dated around actually 1064 AD and so. So it means by the mid of the 11th century, majority of the Buddhist were actually adopted actually main fold of their this religion. They converted or Jain. I don't know, but in some pockets, the Buddhist is still continued, like Taranga. Taranga actually continued till the mid 12th century, and because of its geographical location, it was a very the remote area with the natural rock shelter and all this continued their practice actually. And this Buddhist, this at Taranga, it may be around any time from 4th century to 8th century, I think.
Okay, so the next question is by P.V. Radhakrishnan, who asks, so you mentioned a Roman copper coin. So was it found in the excavations or was it a surface collection?
Actually, this seal is, we got the seal with the impression of the Roman coin. The coin is not available, but somebody, a resident of Vadnagar, was having this coin in the 4th century. He has actually the wet clay lump and then got a impression of it, and other side we are getting the Brahmi inscription. That is interesting part of it.
Okay. The next set of questions, two of them are by Shikha Rai. The first one she asks is, can we categorize the site of Vadnagar as an important nigam, like a market town? And secondly, she asks, can we say that the Buddhist faith and the Brahminical faith both were coexisting peacefully?
Yeah, in not Brahminical and Buddhist, but Jain were also there, because there were the temples of Jain also. And as I have seen among the Brahmins also, the sect, actually there were so many sects. I told you those pendant with the so many cult. They were the followers some cults, and each cult has some sort of pendant. See, this is actually multicultural society, but major it was governed by the affluent or the elite class of the town, because you can just trace it from like that. Actually, in the 18th century, Maratha, actually a general of Maratha, he came to Vadnagar from the Abu area, and he actually warned them, actually, if you are giving us this much money, and some, so we will leave you and we will not damage your property, or we will leave the town. The next morning, the Nagara Brahmins of the Vadnagar, they paid them 4 Anka. It is actually in the Mehsana Gazetted, you can find out it. And the name of the general is also given there. So why Nagar will pay? Means Nagar act managing the affairs of the city. So you can actually take it back to the first 4th century, 5th century, the similar class of arrangement, a class who is actually managing affairs of the city. They are taking decision and they are giving the money to the whatever they have to actually risk themselves. And after 6 months, what happened? Another general or Maratha general, he learned that this the another person got 4 lakh. Let me go and threaten them. After 6 months, this all names is there. Kantaji, Banta, or something name is there. He came and he threatened the residents of Vadnagar, if you should pay us this much money. Otherwise, we are going to property or kill you. That was the day the Nagar could not actually arrange the money left the town in the night. And the next day there was no in the town. And this incident is actually the curse. They were cursed by a god. They cannot remain in Vadnagar and they never come back. But situation is that actually because they felt actually guilty that we could not save our town. And that's why they did not return. This is my actually interpretation, which is actually now actually associated with the curse by all the some god. But that is not true. Those actually managing the city not actually risk the city from those people, and that's why actually they never return. So that's why I believe it was a city-state sort of thing, or maybe Nigam. You are saying that the Nigam managed by a Nigam, yeah.
Okay, the next question is by Nadja Bhatt, who asks, have you found any evidence of drought during the excavation? Any markings of droughts in the section? If yes, then what was the time period?
Actually, that drought actually, in our excavation, we have not found drought, but recently the ASI is excavating area and they have actually found some layer of the calcareous, which is very commonly available in Vadnagar, which is the nature of the natural soil in the Vadnagar. And that natural soil at time to time, they actually brought in for the repair of the road to breach the pits. And that is there actually, but it is not uniformly spread all over the town, because if it is this drought for so many centuries, you will get a common layer throughout in the town. It will not be a localized layer. So that so far actually we have not found that kind of evidence, but there are actually I listened actually that they have found actually continuous drought from the 14th century to 18th century. I don't know. In between, actually, Mughals were coming there and they were getting a lot of the revenue from Nagar. And even the Mughal time, the Abul Fazl Barnama mentioned 2 wings of gold of Gujarat. Gujarat has 2 wings of gold. One is the Vadnagar, another is Umret. Umret is actually on the Batraka river. So that way, I don't suppose there was a drought. Yes, please.
Okay. So I will move to the next question, which is by a guest from Palma, I guess. The question is, are there any indication of links with Chinese trade routes?
No, so far actually, no. We have not found any Chinese thing except Xuanzhang. Xuanzhang which is Chinese. That is the biggest link between. But the trade item we have not found actually that Chinese ware, that is not there.
The next question is by Anirudh Bahuguna, who compliments you for this wonderful talk and asks, so you mentioned this gold seal,
yeah,
with the words Shri Bali Sari or something to that effect.
Bali Saras.
Bali Sar. So he asks, did you say that it was meant for some kind of sacred sacrifice? Or can it be the name of a trade owner like Shri Raja Bali or Shri Bali?
I feel actually he was a person who was given the assignment to collect some tax. Maybe Bali Sarashyam. He was the collector of the tax, I think, like that. I feel so, or a sub-Sanskrityan can say me what is the actual meaning. But this is, I just got this. Because Bali is there, Bali is associated actually with a tax.
Dr. Sunil Gupta says congrats, Dr. Rawat, for this very insightful lecture. He asks, where can he get a copy of the report?
That we are actually now after the report, and I think by next year we will be ready with the report. Most probably everything is favorable. So I am now, that is, I think, the first objective at present, I think.
Okay. So Rajeshwari Pitambaran has one observation and one question.
Yeah.
So the observation is that you had shown on slide number 20 some terracotta beads and studs. So probably one of them looks like a spindle whorl. That's an observation. And the second is a question can you kindly share information about the source of ivory, the provenance of the ivory?
Yeah, actually those beads, these are big. So there are actually some pulley shaped, some arcanet shaped bead. That sometime if you go to Kutch region, the ladies in Kutch they are putting very made of silver even today. But the terracotta studs are very big actually. I don't know whether they were worn by the ladies or the people, the human being, or to wear to the cattle. And they are the arcanet is a very common thing. And then another was that you think was another one.
The other one was
This ivory.
Ivory, the source of
ivory. I told you actually Gujarat was very much uh, occupied by the jungle of Gujarat, were occupied by the elephant. And I gave you the example of the Jahangir, who went to Dahod. Dahod is near the Godhra, and that is on the border of the Madhya Pradesh and Gujarat. And this forest was actually the habitat of the elephant till Mughal period. You can say 17th century. So there is a rich source of ivory in the I think in every part of India, for that matter.
The next question is by Shreyasi Rai Chaudhary, who asks, with regard to the pendant assemblage, she is quite drawn towards an artifact which she presumes is a depiction of two Makara heads joined together. So similar depiction is also visible in the art of Amravati Nagarjuna Kunda. Since there was a Satavahana level in Vadnagar, do you think that there was some stylistic connection or connectivity with this region and that of the early Andhra Desha?
Actually, this Makara pendant is very common. You go to the Andhra Desha or you go to even northern India. And the Makara even later on, when we were child, our mother used to put that teeth of the tiger inside a case of the silver, or the nail of the tiger. That kind of thing, this was a taboo. And Makara in the early centuries, it is very common. It is very difficult to say it is the Satavahana trait or the maybe Satavahana also, because it is very closest to the Gujarat. But Makara Toran is very pendant is very common. Yeah.
Okay, so we have two more questions, and I think after that we'll conclude. So one quick question is by the guest from Pama. Are the brick dimensions from that of the fort different from the structures?
No, actually, brick dimension is changing in the the wall of fort wall can survive longer than the house wall. So that actually they started a house, the fort. The size of brick will remain common, but there is not actually the repair in the fort for longer time, but the house may change, because by the time you repair your fort in next time, it will take centuries. But to repair house, it may be 20 year, 50 year, or 60 year also. So you need brick. The size of the brick more frequently size of the fort.
Okay, so the last question is from Karan Desai,
Yeah.
who asks, on what basis were the Garuda coins post Kshatra associated with a powerful king? So on what basis is this power adjective, how do we associate that?
This is actually,
apart from the coins?
The most of the coins we found, actually 46% in particular stage belongs to this category. Actually, we have not found and they are available everywhere in the, they are scattered. While these coins of Chhatrapa, we are getting a cache in a pot or somewhere like that. Some in collectors actually work. But these coins you will find anywhere, in any layer. It means they were in practice actually in use very frequently, always. And then so many coins, 40 to 60% coins we are getting with this Garuda figure. It means at that particular phase, he was a king who was actually, the currency was very prominent currency that. So it may be he may be a powerful ruler actually issued such coin, or the dynasty who issued this coin. That's why we are getting this, but in particular period actually only. After some time they are actually not continue. Before that also they are not continuing. That see actually, and this is the period, the end of the Chhatrapa and beginning of the Maitraka.
Okay, I think that is all we have for now, because we are running quite late. And we have managed to cover most of the questions. Yes. So I request either Professor Prabhakar or Professor Danino to end the session with their words.
Prabhakar, I think you can please conclude. It was a wonderful lecture, Dr. Rawatji. Very, very complete, comprehensive, detailed, and highlighting the importance of this settlement in Western India. And it does throw a lot of light on the whole region and the evolution of the region. So extremely valuable work. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you once again, Dr. Rawatji, for this wonderful talk. I really appreciate and thank you for the efforts you have put into to unravel some of the most important aspects related to early historic period of Gujarat region, and also proceeding well into the medieval period. Thank you once again. I also thank all the participants for having sparing the time to attend this lecture, and again I welcome them all for the next lecture too. Like always, we host the lectures here on every Saturday, last Saturday of every month. So I request your participation for the next lecture too. That will be a very interesting topic, something like application of remote sensing, what we are planning to host next talk. I hope most of you I will attend that lecture too. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.